Hello everyone, my name is Vlad Larichev.
And my name is Rosa. You're listening to the AI Shift podcast.
And on this podcast, we will explore and learn together about the changes in the business, society, and the economy due to the acceleration of AI.
So, Vlad, do you want to tell me more a little bit when you had this idea for the podcast and why you had this idea of the podcast?
So last month, both of us are talking to many exciting people and brilliant minds in different disciplines. It could be people from creative spaces or engineering, people who are lawyers, people who are artists. And we see so many things changing that both of us thought, gosh, if I would only record this discussion and share it with other people, this would be so valuable. So that was our motivation to say, hey, let's just repeat this in discussions, find new people, but now enter recording button and share it with others, because there are so many great people in this area now really experimenting with AI and also discovering new areas, how AI will impact our life, our society, our business as well.
Yeah.
Each of us have a unique background and a unique point of view on this topic, and bring this point of views together in one picture is something which I'm very excited about. What is your motivation for this podcast?
Well, it's a great question. My motivation for this podcast is related to the fact that it's obvious that we are living in at the beginning of a new industrial revolution. And as per each industrial revolution, this happened with the combustion engine, this happened with the digital age. There are profound and deep changes that are happening across not only the business, but also our society. The way that we interact with each other, the economy, the way that we communicate, the way that we love our families and friends and stay in contact with them and we interact with them. It's important to understand the deep implication of the impact of technologies like AI, not only on the field of business, but also on society, on economy, in the very structure of our relationships. And I believe that it's very much needed having a variety of views about this topic. This is because there's a lot of experts and a lot of people having cohesive, holistic view of all those different fields is very, very difficult. Also, let's not forget that the kind of acceleration that we're seeing right now is exponential, and our brain is incapable of understanding the concept of exponential. We can start here and talk about how the world is going to be in 10 years from now, but I truly believe that the world in 10 years from now is going to be much different from how we're going to say it. Maybe we can get some glimpses out of it. 10 years ago, we were all saying, me included, that we will all wear glasses and going around with VR headsets. Obviously, this didn't happen yet. It's probably going to happen very soon. But it's certain that something is happening right now when it comes both to AI, automation, and robotics. And at the same time, obviously, we are using all those technologies that we were calling before metaverse or extended reality, and now they're called spatial computing because metaverse and extended reality are not cool anymore. And they're both converging into this kind of development of new models, because let's not forget that the way that computers and models can interact with the real world is first through training via simulations. And the way to simulate the real world is obviously 3D imaging and 3D simulations. So this is the reason why I wanted to do this podcast. I have a question for you. First of all, I think that probably would be interesting to discuss also with our viewers. It would be interesting to discuss with our viewers our background and what is taking us here. What is our journey? Would you like to tell our viewers what is your journey across all your career that took you to your keen interest into AI?
So starting my background, I think I would say with selection of a university or what I was thinking to study. I think in the beginning I was kind of idealistic, and I was thinking, okay, I have to study something which can actually change the world. And I had a decision between two disciplines, economy or engineering. And in both of them I was thinking, okay, there's so much we can do in both of these areas, because at that moment I was very interested in global economy, I was thinking like so many things are somehow broken, and
They still are.
yeah, I was still, yeah, and but I decided for engineering, and later I noticed that engineering is great, but at that point it was much too slow for me because especially like in larger projects. So many projects were very, very depending on, of course, on regulations and politics, and also on huge span over time over projects. So I discovered for myself software development, and I was really, really amazed. Like it's kind of a magic. So you have this idea, and with enough time, you can basically, so in some areas badly, but still bring your ideas to life. And as my first chef said, like developers can anything. It's a question of time and money. So maybe we are too slow, or maybe we are bad in the quality, but basically everything is possible. And this was very, really inspiring for me. And in my first jobs, I started as software development in engineering. So we were developing awesome simulations, for example, for many processes, especially in areas like flood simulations, for example. And in this process, I noticed for myself that in somehow like a triangle of software development, engineering, and marketing and sales, because I also was so proud about our projects and products that I also wanted to find a way to sell them and bring to the world how good we are actually as a company. And for me, it was like I was not really clear about what is kind of a job combines software development, sales, and engineering in one. And then I was searching for some new challenges, and I got a very interesting opportunity to build up a software department in a company which at that time did machine translations. And to be honest, at that period of time, I was not aware that this area is even alive.
What is machine translation? Let's explain for the viewers or the listeners, because I think that is a little bit of a cryptic terminology.
Yeah, so absolutely. So at that time, I was clear about, okay, we have something like Google Translate, or we have some other translation engines.
Yeah.
But of course, if you are a larger company, so it's an enterprise company, and you have hundreds of thousands of documents, and especially some of them have to be translated like over the night to 25 different languages across the world, and they have to be proofed as well. This is not so trivial. And also, for example, if you have some technical documentations, it's kind of maybe easier. But you can imagine if you have your annual report and you will publish it, for example, to the market, and there's something like a letter of a CEO explaining like how was this year, what are our plans for the future. Like each word in this first sentence can influence your stock price. And we had, for example, one example, real example, where the translation from English to German was maybe like you can say it's correct. Like, for example, the client said, so their CEO said, this was a crucial year for us. But to German, they translated as kind of a dramatic year for us. And for German speakers, it's exactly the same words. You can translate it differently. But you can imagine the single one can change absolutely like your whole annual report.
Of course.
It can change the feeling of your investors. And that's why
you've been doing this new branch of technology that is translating automatically this complex document.
Yeah, so the pipeline was that you're splitting these documents in different parts, and there's some technical parts that can be automatically translated through. And there's another parts where people can augment, or vice versa, this process. And there's creative writers which understand the branding, they understand like messaging, and they do it as a creative part. And our pipelines or our mechanism can bring this together. It can distribute these translation jobs across the world in a huge network of translators. And our job, so job of my department, was to create, how we would say today, fine-tuned models for different companies, B2B. So in the retail, in pharma, in automotive as well, companies have their dedicated engines. And the funny part about that was exactly the time as the transformers kind of grew up. So it was not the paper anymore. So this paper, attention is all you need from Google, become actually a model which we used exactly the time as it began to be useful, I would say. But nobody knew that we're using GenAI, so we were actually just doing translations. But it was super interesting because it was the beginning, so we were not speaking about billions of parameters. It was really trained, like in our servers, in our floor. You can change any parameter, you can understand how it works, and it was extremely fascinating. So I was fascinated by the topic how you can translate something such complex as language into the numbers. And I'm pretty sure in the next episodes with some of our guests, we will deep dive into the mechanics. So how you can compute or translate humor, emotions, or sarcasm into a series of numbers. It's a very elegant and very fascinating approach. But for me personally, after it, I was searching for a way to have a more impact also in the industry. And I changed to another company called Umlaut, where we did engineering consulting. And later, Umlaut joined Accenture. And now I'm part of Accenture through this acquisition. And for the last 1.5 years, my main goal is to bring, and now also particularly GenAI, into industrial applications like engineering and manufacturing. And this was one of the connections. Also in engineering manufacturing, there's not like always, we do not speak only about production. We speak also about, okay, what is interaction with humans, with people on a shop floor. So you cannot always not talk only about the software. And we have to look at always like this 360-degree point of view. And that's why I extremely appreciate our exchange, because you have exactly, I think, the expertise which I'm missing. And I think together we have this nice overview of a topic. So maybe could you, Nick, give us some overview of your path to our call today?
Yeah, sure. It's a long way because I'm older than you, probably older than a lot of our viewers and listeners. But basically, my career part started with a very deep passion for electronic entertainment technology, so video games and 3D graphics. I was a teenager, of course. I had two big passions. One was music, the other one was gaming. And I started studying journalism. And after my studies, I moved to the main city. I'm Italian, to the main city where the biggest newspaper and biggest magazine about video games was printed. And I was already collaborating with them because I've started collaborating with this magazine while I was at university, because I wanted to be a full-time journalist. Soon I realized that there were not much money to make in being a full-time journalist. And I got an opportunity to start working for a company that at the time was called Infogram, and then they changed their name into Atari, because they acquired Hasbro and they inherited the rights to use the name Atari. At the time, we were basically importing games from Sega from Japan. The first Unreal tournament and Unreal 2 were distributed by this company. And I was in charge of all their communication, their comms and media for hardcore gamers. Soon after that, there's been a big market crash. Redundancies have been made. I've been offered a package to leave. And as basically the company started producing only video games that were not exactly very exciting, because they decided to go towards a family kind of orientated video game lineup, like, for example, the Smurfs, Lucky Luke, that kind of stuff. I said, okay, this is not for me anymore. I left. I spent 2.5 years working in the music industry for a radio network in a big club in Milan. I was producing music and other things like this. And then after 2.5 years, I decided to move back into a day job and keeping the music as a parallel thing, which I'm still doing somehow in some ways. And I started working first for Yahoo, managing all their editorial contents for media and entertainment in Italy. And then Virgin Radio arrived to Italy, and I got a call, funny enough, from the same guy I was working with at the radio and in the club, because he became the art director of Virgin Radio in Italy. And he said, we have to launch this new radio station. It's a radio network from Richard Branson brand. And I would like you to be managing all the digital properties of the radio. I said, okay, let's do it. It was a big challenge. We were starting from scratch. There was absolutely nothing ready yet. So I had to start building the website from scratch, the social network from scratch, because at that time radio networks had their own social network. There was no Facebook or other stuff like this. And it was a success. After 3 years, more or less, I received a call from a small startup that was just opening their studio in London called Spotify. So I decided to join a team of 7 people in a very small office in Tottenham Court Road in central London. It was very fun. There, cut my teeth into premium services and freemium solutions. One of the things that we launched, I was in charge of the premium services for the UK at that time. And one of the things that we discovered was that at the time, people really wanted an app for the just launched iPhone. iPhone has been launched in September 2007. And I moved to London, and was February 2009. The App Store launched just a few months earlier, but there was a lot of rumor already about the potential of having a mobile app on the iPhone. So I decided to work with the team in Sweden in order to design the features of this app. And the team did most of the job. What I did was just to suggest some things, but I was fascinated by it. And this stole my heart because after another round of redundancies, there was another big wave of financial crisis that hit. I found myself looking for a new job, and at that point, I joined a company called Mobile Interactive Group, where I deployed quite a bit of mobile applications. After this, Net Mobile, where I joined as head of mobile strategy, and then Lost Boys International, which is another digital agency that was doing a lot of mobile. In total, across all those three companies, I deployed more than 65 mobile applications, like very, very famous one as well, like the official Playboy app, for example, or My Vodafone or My O2 that are used by a lot of users all around the world for their mobile phones. The official Barclays Premier League app, for example, the official Chelsea football app.
Wow.
They're all apps that I deployed over there. And I had a dream. I wanted to work for a big corporation with a big legacy name. And when IBM knocked at my door because they needed a head of mobile for media and entertainment transformation in Europe, I immediately joined the team. There, I worked with some extremely talented people, and I learned a lot. I've been formally trained in user-centric design by the team in Cupertino because we had an alliance with Apple at the time. So I went to Apple headquarters in Cupertino and I spent like a week with their design team learning all the principles of user-centric design and design thinking as well. So I spent 3 happy years there at IBM, but during those 3 happy years, something really interesting happened. This being the launch of Oculus Kickstarter, and this VR wave was about to create a new wave of transformation across the industries and across our lives. And I was fascinated by it because I saw mobile and video games converging together into something that was extremely transformative for the business. And I said, I want to do this. Obviously, in a company like IBM that's literally just launched their mobile team, and we're talking about 2014, I think that's, the iPhone has been launched in 2007. I mean, they took a while to get into this new kind of technology. I wanted to be at the forefront of innovation. So at that point, Accenture called me. They needed someone expert in extended reality, which is augmented and virtual reality altogether. And I had the pleasure to join the team and immediately starting leading the European business. I've been doing this for the last 7 years. Across those 7 years also, I've been doing other things like being the chairman of the British Interactive Media Association cohort for immersive technologies. I'm one of the directors of the IXR, which is the association, the academy that every year produces the Virtual Reality Awards, and co-hosted a podcast called Field of View that ran for a couple of seasons where we interviewed quite a lot of people in the field of extended reality, 3D technology, digital twin, metaverse, you name it. Last to 2022, in October 2022, I published a book called Understanding the Metaverse, a Business and Ethical Guide, which was basically the sum of 7 years of passion spent at Accenture, working with clients, understanding the use cases. And I created this practical guide to understand what are 3D technologies, why they're important, how they're going to revolutionize our life, the way that we're working in the business, why it's important to keep in mind some ethical principles while designing for this kind of technologies, and also understanding how to apply it at scale across the strategy of any company. Interestingly enough, in that book, there is a full chapter, which is also available for free on my LinkedIn, about the use of AI in the role of AI in the technology stack of this infrastructure that we think that is the internet of the future that we call the metaverse. And from there, I started to be very, very passionate about the subject. We're talking about October 2022. And I started reading and studying quite a lot. I had also the pleasure in one of the lectures that I assisted of having a conversation with Mr. Demis Hassabis, which is the Google DeepMind CEO, which many people believe that he's going to be also future CEO of Google. And, Demis has a very interesting background. Demis was a prodigy. He became a chess master at the age of 5. He started working for a very famous video game company that was called Bullfrog at the age of 14, doing the artificial intelligence for their characters. And he co-founded the company along with Peter Molyneux, which was at the time the managing director of Bullfrog. They left Electronic Arts and they co-founded another company called the Lionhead Studios that has then been acquired by Microsoft. One of the things that Demis was doing during all those years, he was the CTO of the company, but he was also in charge of the artificial intelligence of all the characters that are driving those video game simulations. He created, for example, the AI for the visitors of the theme park in the video game called Theme Park. He created the AI of all the peasants in a video game called Black and White. Basically, after the acquisition, he decided to get an hiatus from working in the video game industry and went studying neuroscience at Oxford University, where he got a PhD in neuroscience. And he came back, and with some fellow PhD students, he created what is DeepMind right now. And during the conversation that I had with them, we discussed about the role of 3D worlds in order to create a mathematical model of the real world for machine learning and deep learning system to understand the mechanics and the physics of the real world, which is super, super interesting. And I spent, those beautiful, wonderful 15, 20 minutes that I had the privilege of having, speaking with Demis at the end of one of his lectures, really enlightened me and wanted me to go deeper into the subject. And now I changed my role inside Accenture. We are colleagues, so for full disclosure for all the listeners and the viewers. And I'm leading the Global Center of Excellence for Generative AI for consumer products and retail in Milan. And I'm very lucky because I'm exposed to a lot of very interesting fringe technologies and very interesting client needs and questions that are coming every day. We have something like 3 clients per day that are visiting the center. So yeah, it's a long journey, but I'm very happy to be here and to running this podcast together.
But I think now it's for our viewers and listeners, it's clear why we said, hey, we need a podcast. Just because already now you mentioned so many topics and each of them, I think we could discuss for hours. And you mentioned, for example, Spotify, and I would be really, really interested. So one colleague of mine who is working on Spotify now on their AI for recommendation is a great guy, and would really, really like to talk together about how AI predicts our taste and how we do it at scale, for example, which is a fascinating topic. Like the grade between accuracy and a scale where Spotify have a huge amount of users, of course, and they have to find a sweet spot. You mentioned so many exciting topics, and like also this emergence of 3D spaces as a place for simulated data, which we will use for AI, which will later navigate in our real world, is a topic which I think for us is like absolutely obvious, or maybe we're talking a lot about that with our clients or with our groups. But I think for many viewers, it will be a very interesting new area. And also have there, it's super exciting what's, for example, happening now with Omniverse is one of examples where maybe for some listeners or viewers, what you described was kind of a like future outlook or something which might come, but we actually already use it with our clients. And this is another, I would say, value proposition of our podcast, what we can share, what we see is coming, and not only like from our futuristic point of view, but also where we see, okay, if, like industry is investing in these areas, and if there is commitment and there's a value case from the industry, it will happen. Pretty sure. I think this is another exciting area, which definitely we can bring here to the podcast.
And we're seeing a lot of use cases that have been thought in the past taking shape right now thanks to the enablers that are created by artificial intelligence. There is an interesting keynote that I gave in 2018 at AWE. You can search for it. If you search on Google or YouTube, Nick Rosa, AWE, you can find it. Where I talk about immersive technologies, machine learning, and the future of humanity. Probably you saw recently there's a video of a man that was training a robot using a virtual reality headset,
Yeah,
an Apple
collaborating.
Vision Pro. Exactly. That's exactly what was the topic of my talk. A way for people to train machines in the real world using immersive technologies, data, and tracking, and potentially use those data in order to train autonomous robots in the future. And the future is now, and this is now happening. I mean, I gave that talk in 2018 and it looked like so far-fetched and crazy. And now we are in 2024, and this is actually happening. And there are startups that are showing videos of those robots, and there are millions that are invested on those startups that now are worth billions. So this is a very exciting time. I think that our viewers are going to have a lot of fun, but I think that we're going to have more fun than our viewers.
Absolutely.
Talking with all of those people and interacting with each other. So one of the things that I wanted to ask everybody that right now is listening to us is to press the subscribe button, like this video, so you can be notified all the time that we're going to publish something new. Please talk about it with your friends and colleagues that are interested about it. And stay tuned because there are some very interesting guests and topics that are coming your way.
Absolutely. Maybe as a final point or maybe a final thought, Nick, so what can guests or our viewers expect in next episode? So we described our background. What will be format for the next episodes?
During the next episode, I think that's it's nice to deep dive into some specific topics. We're going to have some monographic episodes that are related, one on economy, for example, one on philosophy, for example, one on industrial use of AI, another one into business and customer experience, other one in creativity, for example. I believe that it's going to be interesting to explore all those single topics that are related to AI in order to give the viewers a little bit of an holistic view of the impact of this technology across all those different verticals.
Yeah, so I'm already super excited to hear it myself. And I think viewers, so our viewers, if you're looking at this video, so most probably already in your private discussions with your friends, with your family, you already could got a feeling of how complex and exciting this topic is, because this all topics which we took as a self-explainable, like what is the creativity? What is our role of human in the future? Like, what is the future of our work, actually? And it's not trivial answer anymore. And I don't think that it's like a binary that somebody can give us as a right answer, and this is the right one. I think it will be very depending on the type of an industry, of a type of a job. Also, it will be much more this process we see already for last years, that there is not like one job, so all of us are adapting to the market and to development and new technologies. So this shift, and why maybe now why we call this podcast actually the AI shift.
The AI shift.
The AI shift is actually something which all of us already started to feel, I think, and to see in some of the elements. But as just a short outlook, I would say we both talking to, like in our daily life, we have this privilege that clients and companies coming to us, they face large challenges. So normally they don't come to us if they see, okay, we know what we do. Normally they come to us where we say, okay, there's a large challenge and we see exciting developments, but what is the path to it, or is it feasible? And I think through this discussion, we have a bit of training and to see of this development, and we would like to share our expertise or our point of view. But more exciting even would be for us to add this third element in this triangle. If this third element will be a guest, and this guest will come from all possible disciplines, from lawyers, philosophers, artists, scientists, engineers. And together with you also as our viewers, we'll try to develop a roadmap or joint point of view of the future, how we would like to be it. With we, I mean all of us, the society, and of course you as the viewers. So stay tuned. We have already a very exciting list of the guests. And as you already heard, a lot of the topics so we'd like to discuss with you. So comment, you can also add your topics you would like to be discussed. And we're already looking forward for our next episodes and your participation.
Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye. Thank you so much.
Cheers. Bye-bye.